A roller coaster day on the local stock market. Hong Kong's first Family and Women Development Summit. Good evening and thank you for joining us. It's a roller coaster ride in the city's stock market today. With an intraday fluctuation topping 1,200 points, the Hang Seng Index was down 1.38% to close at 20,637. Hong Kong's stock market went topsy-turvy Wednesday. The Hang Seng Index rebounded nearly 500 points in morning trading before plummeting in tandem with mainland stock markets. And that's a dive of 700 points past the 20,200 level. The Ministry of Finance announced a press conference will be held on Saturday on measures to strengthen counter-cyclical adjustments of fiscal policies. That buoyed market sentiment in the city with a rally of 400 points. But that offered no sustained momentum, with the Hang Seng Index closing down 289 points at 20,637. Trading volume stood at $427 billion. During the mainland's Golden Week holidays, Hong Kong stock market notched gains of around 2,000 points. That rally was all wiped out on Tuesday, with the Hang Seng Index having cascaded a record 2,172 points, with the decline extended today.
People should be cautious with their money, probably, yeah. Be able to, from what I've heard, split up their investment decisions into lower risk stocks, depending on whatever your risk tolerance is. Pull some high volatility investments into more low volatility ones.
I believe in the efficient market hypothesis, where stocks are going to long-term keep to the value of the underlying assets. I won't worry about day-to-day ups and downs on the stock market.
Commentator Kwok Si-chi said the market trends these days are guided by policy and capital flow instead of speculation. If there are favorable policies, the capital inflow will follow, he said. Among the mainland stocks that dragged the market today were Chinese brokerage firms, including Huatai Securities, which retreated by 13%. The drop in international oil prices has led to selling pressure on China's three barrels of oil, namely China National Petroleum Corporation, Sinopec, and CNOOC. Their prices tumbled 3 to 5%. Meituan, meanwhile, rallied 2%. Utility stocks, power assets, and CK Infrastructure gained 1 to 2%. An elderly woman was left unconscious after being hit by a minibus at Sao Mau Ping this afternoon. The minibus driver was subsequently arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm by drunk driving. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The minibus involved could still be seen parked on the road after the incident. Bloodstains were also found around the area of the crash. Police officers had early cordoned off the site of the accident. At around 1:30 p.m. at the intersection of Hu Kwang Street and Sao Ming Road, when a red minibus rammed into a 73-year-old woman crossing the road. The 54-year-old driver, who failed to pass his alcohol breath test, was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm by drunk driving. The woman suffered head and leg injuries and was unconscious when she was sent to Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment. A similar incident occurred in August. Then another minibus driver in Kwun Tong was suspected of beginning to drive before passengers who just boarded sat down properly, resulting in a number of injuries. The former was also arrested on suspicion of drunk driving. However, representatives from the minibus sector stress such incidents are rare. They said terminus supervisors usually check their drivers for the smell of alcohol and general health. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The city's first Family and Women Development Summit was held today. The government also unveiled the latest measures to support women's development and promote family values. The Family and Women Development Summit was held at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai. At the summit was former Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Fu Ying. Fu said with more Chinese women having received quality education alongside a more equal social environment, they will play an even more pivotal role in promoting world peace and global cooperation as well. She added that Hong Kong has demonstrated to the world how to protect women's rights. Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mack meanwhile revealed the Bureau is officially launching a one-stop platform with family and women-oriented information. They encompass women's rights, health, employment and entrepreneurship, family education, family services and marriage. Max said through the Community Care Fund and the Hong Kong Family Welfare Society, a 3-year alimony mediation trial scheme has been rolled out to assist those in need. It is expected to provide mediation services to 1,200 cases. The Bureau and the Family Council will also unveil a new 5-year family education campaign next Monday. With annual funding of $8 million earmarked for it, the scheme aims to support non-profit projects for family education to promote family values. Also speaking at today's summit via video link was Cambodia's Minister of Women's Affairs.
Strengthening families as social institutions and ensuring equal partnership between men and women are crucial for nurturing the values we carry through life. A multi-sectoral approach involving cooperation among various stakeholders is necessary to sustain family development and women empowerment.
China has filed a trade complaint with the World Trade Organization challenging Turkey's tariffs on imports of Chinese electric vehicles. The Ministry of Commerce says in a statement that the discriminatory action is in breach of WTO rules and protectionist in nature. It has urged Turkey to abide to immediately correct its measures. Beijing has filed a request for consultations, the first formal step in a trade dispute. To spur local production, Turkey recently announced the imposition of a 40% additional duty and license restrictions on automobiles imported from China. At the same time, Ankara has been courting Chinese car makers, including BYD and Chery, to set up production plants in Turkey. According to North Korea state media KCNA, the country's army says it will completely cut off roads and railways connected to South Korea starting today and fortify areas on the side of the border. Meanwhile, North Korea's parliament held its second meeting this year over Monday and Tuesday. Leader Kim Jong-un was not mentioned to have attended, but Premier Kim Chok-hun was seen at the meeting. The meeting at Pyongyang's Mansudae Assembly Hall amended the constitution, according to KCNA. There had been widespread expectation that the North Korean parliament would remove references in the constitution on unification between the two Koreas, in line with comments made by Kim Jong-un in January. The state media did not mention any law change to designate South Korea as a primary foe. Tensions on the Korean peninsula have increased this year amid a series of missile tests and a push by the North to change how it relates to the South. The parliament also appointed a new defense minister, No Kwan-chol. Israel has ordered more Lebanon evacuations amid clashes with Hezbollah fighters across the country. This as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged Lebanon's people to rise up against the militant group. Netanyahu is due to speak with U.S. President Joe Biden later as Israel weighs up how it will respond to Iranian attacks. David Garrett reports.
Little more than smoke remains from this building hit by Israel. Explosions reverberate around the suburbs of Beirut overnight. Residents say there were fewer strikes than previous nights. Fires broke out in multiple locations. The Israeli military says attacks like these have killed dozens of Hezbollah fighters, including 6 senior commanders. The Prime Minister spoke directly to Lebanese people, telling them to stand up to Hezbollah. Others say Israel is causing the problems. The foreign ministers of Egypt and Jordan met, saying their top priority is stopping Israeli aggression. Iran's foreign minister is in Qatar as negotiations continue to try to avert all-out war between Israel and Iran. Israel has promised to retaliate for Iran's missile attack last week.
U.S. President Joe Biden has postponed his trip to Germany and Angola to monitor Hurricane Milton, now reclassified as a Category 5 storm heading for Florida. Biden said it could be one of the worst storms in 100 years. Milton is expected to make landfall late Wednesday, packing winds of 260 kilometers per hour. Thousands of residents are fleeing in cars, but some insist on riding out the storm. Tracy Furness has more.
This is what Hurricane Milton looks like from the International Space Station, or ISS. NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic sharing his time-lapse video on X. Dominic and 3 other astronauts were supposed to return to Earth on October 7th after a 7-month stay at the ISS, but their homecoming has been repeatedly delayed by tropical weather and now Milton. Down on the ground, the traffic is building on highways leading out of the Gulf area. Residents escaping Milton scared that they will have no home to come back to.
Storm surge is the biggest thing. With Helene, we had about 6 feet of water inside our home, and they're predicting the surge to be about 10 to 15 feet, which is twice as much as Helene. So it's going to be tough to come back to.
But some residents are staying to ride out the storm.
We actually live inland in Clearwater. We're in the highest water zone where it doesn't even show up on the flood maps. So the home is safe. We don't typically have issues with winds. If the winds come through, it doesn't really impact us. We've already trimmed all the trees, neighbors' trees away from our houses, from the power lines. So we just wait it out.
President Joe Biden cancelled his trips to Germany and Africa to remain at the White House to monitor Milton.
I just don't think I can be out of the country at this time, number one. Number two, we're going to stay focused on what's ahead of us right now. I've been briefed by the senior leaders of this administration and who are driving our preparedness for Hurricane Milton, which could be one of the worst storms in 100 years to hit Florida.
Biden called on airlines and other companies to provide as much service as possible to help evacuations. He also advised them not to engage in price gouging, to just do it on the level. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And still ahead, ASEAN leaders hold their annual summit in the capital of Laos. Customs officers seize $130 million worth of cannabis butts. And 5 local universities ranked among the world's top 100 by Times Higher Education. Welcome back. Southeast Asian leaders gathered today in the capital of Laos for an annual regional forum to discuss regional and global issues. Premier Lee Chiang is expected to show up tomorrow at the Leaders' Summit on East Asia Cooperation. Danny Zhou reports.
The opening ceremony of this year's Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit took place at the National Convention Center in Vientiane. Laos Prime Minister Sonexay Siphandone, along with his wife, greeted leaders from fellow member states. They include Thailand's young Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra, who just took office in August, Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, and Indonesia's Vice President Maruf Amin. With cultural performances put up by Lao dancers, the event swung into full gear. Lao President Thongloun Sisoulith and the country's Prime Minister Sonexay Siphandone delivered their welcome messages. ASEAN leaders held hands and posed for a group photo. Opening the summit, Sonexay pointed out the 10-nation bloc is faced with fast-changing geopolitical landscape and should tackle the challenge with concerted efforts.
Today's retreat session is especially significant, offering us an opportunity to discuss the best approaches to addressing challenges facing our region while seizing opportunities to further strengthen ASEAN community building and reinforce ASEAN centrality within the evolving regional architecture. And this effort serves our shared objective of maintaining and promoting peace, stability, and sustainable development cooperation, both regionally and globally.
Thailand's foreign ministry said the code of conduct in the South China Sea was discussed during the meeting. The leaders agreed that resolving maritime disputes must be based on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Premier Lee Chiang has already arrived in Laos. He will attend 3 meetings on Thursday and Friday and pay his first state visits to Laos and Vietnam afterwards. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The Nobel Prize in Chemistry has been awarded to scientists David Baker, Demis Hassabis, and John Jumper for their work with proteins. Baker works at the University of Washington in Seattle, while Hassabis and Jumper both work at Google DeepMind in London. Baker designed a new protein in 2003, and his research group has since produced one imaginative protein creation after another. This includes proteins that can be used as pharmaceuticals, vaccines, nanomaterials, and tiny sensors. Hassabis and Jumper created an artificial intelligence model that has been able to predict the structure of virtually all of the 200 million proteins that researchers have identified. The prize carries a cash award of 11 million Swedish kroner, or $1 million, from a bequest left by the award's creator, Swedish inventor Alfred Nobel. Back locally, customs officers have seized around 500 kilograms of suspected cannabis buds with an estimated street value of $130 million from sea cargo originating from Canada. 3 people have been arrested. The suspected drugs were sealed in a number of plastic bags that also carried soybeans. This raised suspicion as there were similar cases of smuggling in the past. Officers searched the cargo and found 83 bags containing the suspected cannabis buds. They later arrested a mainland man who came to the city on a 2-way permit, and another man and a woman who claimed to be a logistics company driver and staff member, respectively. Times Higher Education has released its latest World University rankings. 5 Hong Kong institutions are in the top 100, and 4 of them saw a rise in positions. The Chinese University of Hong Kong, ranked 44th, rose 9 places from last year to its highest position since it was included in the list. City University of Hong Kong advanced 2 places, making it into the top 80. The Hong Kong Polytechnic University rose 3 spots to 84th. The University of Hong Kong retained its 35th position. The Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, meanwhile, dropped 2 places to 66th. Hong Kong Baptist University climbed from the 301st to 350th bracket to the 251st to 300th band. Oxford University in the UK remains the top-ranked institution for the 9th straight year. Times Higher Education ranked the institutions based on indicators including teaching, research environment, research quality, industry, and international outlook. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.